I have debated for quite a while about making this video, and the reasons being point blank were opening myself up to scrutiny, I guess, in a way. Maybe um, from a point of view of wondering what people would think of me. Um, Also, too, worrying about if this kind of video would hurt the channel. But after thinking about it a lot the last couple of days, I decided to go ahead and make this video because if nothing else, I have always said that I am open and honest with you guys and gals, and I'm always authentic. I'm always real. And this is going to be a very authentic and a very real video where I'm opening up myself to you a little bit more to basically let you know that yours truly hasn't always been perfect when it comes to credit. And so this is basically my story regarding where I've where I was several years ago to where I am now and basically how I got there. So, like I said before, yours truly hasn't always had I have not always had a credit score over 800 and 20 plus credit cards. This is only a newer thing that's occurred over the past few years. And we're going to talk about this today. So let's backtrack a little bit. In 2009, I worked at a company that I was hoping to actually retire from. Had a decent job, had good credit, um, thought I was doing okay. And then during the crash of 0809, actually on February 13th of 2009, on a Friday, the 13th of 2009 in February, I was notified I was getting laid off from my job. This devastated me because I didn't see it coming and I never thought that it could happen to me. I was the model employee, always on time, always did my work, so on and so on, loyal to the company. And I happened to be one of the people that was let go, and it completely wrecked me. I was not prepared for what was to come. And what was to come was being out of a job for almost a year and a half. When this happened, like I said, this was during the financial crisis of 0809, and I did not expect to be out of a job for a year and a half. I counted up how many resumes and how many applications I filled out until I finally landed the job that I did get. I filled out and sent 221 applications and resumes before I actually landed a job. So I basically went from March of 2009 until October of 2010 with no work. I was on unemployment. Um, that lasted for a while, but ultimately, what happened in the end was I was not prepared, and I thought I had enough money in savings. I did have enough money in savings to weather 6 months. I did not see a year and a half coming, and it completely wrecked me to where I went from having good credit and having money in the bank and that kind of thing to at my very worst low point, that basically being October of 2010. I had depleted every bit of savings I had. I basically wiped out my 401k that I had with the company. I basically had nothing, and my credit was wrecked. I was getting ready to lose my apartment, and a friend of mine that also got laid off with me at the same time invited me to move in with him. He had a giant house and he had no one living with him. He invited me to move in with him because he hadn't found any work either. And he says, "Look," he says, I know your situation. Move in with me, pay me some rent. It'll help me out. It'll help you out, and we'll figure this out." So I accepted his offer. I was basically losing my apartment that month or the beginning of the next month in November. And so I packed up my car with what I could. I hired movers to move the little bit of furniture I had. I left everything else behind, and got moved in with my friend. So this was in October of 2010. I basically moved in with what I had in the car and the few pieces of furniture I had, and I had nothing. I couldn't rub two pennies together at that point. I was just starting a job that I didn't want, but it was a job because I'd been out of work for a year and a half. So it was a paycheck, and so it was a customer service job, and I hated that job for the entire time I did it. But it was a job; it provided a steady income. I paid my friend $500 a month in rent to live with him, and so during the next 7 years, I lived with him from November of 2017 until I moved out in November, or in I moved in with him on November 2010. I moved out in November of 2017. So 7 years. I lived with him for 7 years. During that time frame, I also lost my car eventually. Um, I was at a point where I was driving another friend's car for 3 months till I could afford a car, until I could afford to buy a car somewhere. So in January of 2013, my friend needed his car back. So I went to one of those dealerships here that basically they know you have crappy credit and they're going to gouge you for everything they can. But they gave me a loan, and I thankfully found a car that served me well. It was a 2012 Honda Civic. It had 100,000 miles on it. So for a Honda, the engine was just broken in. And so I bought that car on the loan, and for the next few years, I worked that, uh, a couple of 2 years into the loan, this would have been in January of 2012 is when I got the car, and it was my first loan. For the first few years I had the car, I was still working that crappy job that I hated, but I was making payments on the car and so on and so on. The car served me well. Never had any problems with it until the very end. Uh, that's when I got into IT. So in 2013, so a year and a half later, I broke into IT in April of 2013. So I still had that car, and I was making about what I was at the job previously, but I was in IT, so I was doing something that I really loved. So um, fast forward, I was working that job. Fast forward to 2016, I paid the car off. It was a 4-year loan that I had on that car, and I paid the loan off. So I was in January of 2016, I was free and clear. But I had that loan reporting to the credit bureaus the entire time. I didn't really check my credit much at all, but at the very, very worst, my credit was 540 is where it was at the very lowest. Um, when I paid the car off, I was in it was like 620. It was like in the low 600s. So I was making progress at that time. Fast forward a few months to July, the Honda Civic was running really well, but the AC was going out on it. And I'm like, I just want to get something new. I love the Civic, but I really wanted to get into an SUV. I really wanted a CRV badly. So at that point, my credit was about 650, and the dealership I had bought the dealership I bought my Honda Accord from that I lost, um, at my very worst. I went back there, and they actually put me into my first Honda CRV, which I loved. I loved that CRV so much. Once you go SUV, you don't go back, to a car. But I loved that vehicle so much, and it got me up off the ground. It got me AC. July here in Kansas City is really freaking hot. So it was just a better experience. I got a fairly decent rate on the car. I actually, so fast forward. So this was July of 2016. Um, Love that vehicle a lot. So now we're getting into 2017. Very beginning of 2017. I still didn't have any credit cards. I had the one auto loan paid off. I had my new vehicle loan I was making payments on. I switched jobs. So I moved from the first company that gave me a IT job to a new company, which is the company I work for now, in the beginning of 2017. Right after I started working for the new company, I decided that I was going to try to get credit cards. And the very first card I applied for and got was the City Double Cash card. This is my oldest credit card I have. I've had this card since February of 2017. A few months later, oh no, like a month later, I went after and got my second card. And that second card is my First National Bank of Omaha 1% on everything Visa card. It is the card that I featured in my worst credit card that I have video. But this is my second oldest card and I still have it. It's still active. I got this at the beginning of March of 2017. At the end of March, I was able to get my third credit card. So by this time, my credit scores are increasing. They're into the 700s now. My third card I got at the end of March, my third oldest card, is my Bank of America customized cash rewards credit card. I've had this since the end of March of 2017. So within the span of a month, so in the span of 2 months, I've acquired three credit cards: the Double Cash, the 1% First National Bank Visa, and the BOA CCR. My fourth oldest card. Now, I didn't apply for cards for a while, from March until August. Now, at the beginning of August, I got my fourth credit card. And my fourth oldest card is my US Bank Cash Plus Visa card. I've had this card since the beginning of August of 2017. I did not get any more new cards for quite a while, but what did happen is when I got the Cash Plus Visa card, I was also in the market to buy my first house. So I applied to get approved for a loan, for a mortgage loan, and I want to say it was the middle of August, if I remember correctly, when they pulled my credit. So I had the two car loans. One was paid off, one I was paying on currently, and I had four credit cards. I had a score of 760 when they pulled my credit for the loan of what is the house I live in now. This is in middle of August of 17. I found this place, and after going through the inspections and all that and everything else, I ended up closing and moving in the week before Thanksgiving of 2017. So I went from having a 540 score and having nothing to my name at all whatsoever and completely broke, to having to get my first car and having a god awful loan, but I stuck with it and I paid it off in 4 years, getting my second auto loan to improve my position with a new vehicle, which helped build my credit even more. And then in the span of 6 months, I got my first four credit cards of what I have now, which is 22 cards total. But these were the first four cards that I added to my current situation now. So when I bought the house, they pulled my credit. It was a 760. And so at that time, I got the best rate available, which was 3.75 on my house loan. So the point of this story is that I'm definitely not perfect. There were many lessons learned during this whole thing. I have a year's salary saved up now in a bank account, a year's salary, and it's set aside just for, oh, F word, I lost my job and that account is not touched. So lessons learned. And of course now in the past, 10 years or so, I've been playing catch up with my retirement. So there's that as well. But big time lessons learned. So I just wanted to share this very raw story with you and let you know that even if you go down the path of ruin when it comes to credit, it is possible to rebuild yourself again and to get back up to having amazing credit. Like right now, my credit score, FICO 9 is 816. So it's it is very possible to fix something that went badly wrong, to yourself. So anyway, like I said, I know this was a ramble. I know this was really not coherent at times. It was just my raw words about how I was at the depths of despair when it comes to finance and credit and whatnot, and that it is possible to rebuild yourself from that and get to a point where you are okay. Anyway, I want to know what your all's comments are. Let's talk about it in the comment section below. I'm really curious to hear what you have to say. Also, too, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. It is free and it helps to get my channel visible to more people just like yourself. And I thank you ahead of time for doing so. Also, too, if you want to support further, I do have memberships available on the channel as well. There's only one membership right now. It is $1.99 a month. You can cancel that at any time. I am creating videos that will stay behind paywalls or a paywall. It's a spicier content that I really don't want out to the general public on YouTube. So that's the value I'm trying to add to my subscribers or to my members right now. And there's other ways to support me too in the links in the description of the video as well. Buy me a coffee, that kind of thing as well, or use my referral links for my cards as well. So anyway, that's all I have to say for now. Now, if you would please do me a big favor and be good to each other today, okay? And every day, and be respectful. And until next time, bye for now.